Can you hear me?
Sir, good morning. This is Vimal.
Dr. Vimal, எப்படி இருக்கீங்க?
நல்லா இருக்கும் சார். எப்படி இருக்கீங்க?
வணக்கம், நல்லா இருக்கும். Thank you.
வணக்கம் சார், வணக்கம். காளியப்பன் சார். காளியப்பன் சார். காளியப்பன் சார்.
But I'm not able to see it.
Please maximize it, sir. Only then the viewable can be arranged.
All right, let's try.
Yeah.
But now I'm not able to see the audience.
Yeah, yes sir, you are audible, sir.
இல்ல audience தெரியல எனக்கு.
Audience வந்து 50 audience உள்ள இருக்காங்க சார்.
Right, I'm not able to see them. Yeah, screen I'm only seeing my PowerPoint. So whenever you're ready, let me know. If the audio is clear, we can get started.
Yeah, sir. Let me start, sir.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
After a day of intense and extensive presentations and deliberations on the emerging fields of science and technology, we are here on the second day of this first edition of International Web Conference on Smart Engineering Technologies 2020. We will begin this day with a keynote address by our eminent special guest of the day, Dr.S.K. Ramesh from California State University, Northridge, United States. Dr. Ramesh graduated with a BE degree in 1981 in Electronics and Communication Engineering from Regional Engineering College, Trichy, affiliated to University of Madras then, and received his MSEE in 1983 and PhD in 1986 from Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. Prior to joining California State University in 1987, he was a visiting professor at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. He is currently the professor and director and lead principal investigator of the AIMS2 program. This multi-institutional, nationally recognized program is supported with a 5-year, $6 million grant from U.S. Department of Education and follows a 5-year, $5.5 million grant also led by Dr. Ramesh. Dr. Ramesh served as Dean of the College of Engineering and Computer Science, CSU, from August 2006 to August 2017. Earlier, he was Professor of Electrical Engineering, California State University, Sacramento, where he was the Department Chair from 1994 to 2006. Dr. Ramesh is the 2017 Vice President, IEEE Educational Activities, and served on the IEEE Board of Directors. He served as the 2016 president of IEEE HKN, the International Electrical Engineering Honor Society. He has also served ABET in multiple roles as program evaluator representing IEEE and is presently on the ABET Board of Delegates. Earlier, he served on the ABET Board of Directors from 2013 and 2015. Ramco Institute of Technology is an active institutional member of more than 10 professional societies in India and across the world, and an active proponent of continuous professional development. It has always encouraged its faculty members to participate in various CPD programs and update their knowledge in the recent developments and trends in the various branches of engineering. Today's keynote address by Dr. S.K. Ramesh is on the topic, Role of Professional Societies in Engineering Education. We believe that today's participants will get immensely benefited from this special keynote address. Without much ado, I hand over the session to Dr. Ramesh.
Thank you so much, Dr. Godson. I really appreciate that. முதற்கண் உங்கள் அனைவருக்கும் எனது நன்றி கலந்த வணக்கம். Again, my name is Ramesh, and as you heard from the introduction, I want to thank Dr. Vimal Shanmuganathan as well as Dr. Kaliyappan and esteemed colleagues in the Ramco Institute of Technology for the opportunity to share my thoughts with you today on the role of professional societies in engineering education. But first, I thought I would give you a little bit of history of where I'm coming from. So you see, I'm a native of Rajapalayam, which is where Ramco Institute of Technology is located. The picture that you see in front of you are my grandparents. Sri R.V. Ramasundaram Pillai and Mrs. Sivagami Ammal are my maternal grandparents. And the picture right below are my parents, Mrs. Saroja Sundaram, who's the daughter of Sri Ramasundaram Pillai and Ms. Sivagami Ammal, and my father, Mr. K. Sundaram, who was a distinguished IAS officer in Tamil Nadu for a number of years. So these are some pictures from Rajapalayam the last time we visited. This is a family temple. The family house still stands today. And as we say in Rajapalayam, anybody that comes to our house, Yadum Ure Yavaram Kerala, right? So in the current situation, in Corona situation, this is how Irukaram Kupi, Yelarakum, another Nandigalanda, Anakata Tervitukolire. My mother is also a very well-known singer. She's given a number of concerts during her lifetime. Unfortunately, neither of my parents are with me right now. But this is from the 8th Tamil Conference. This was in 1995 on Thevaram and Thirumarai. So if you ever look her up, Mrs. Saroja Sundaram, you'll see that. So I have a lot of ties to the city of Rajapalayam, which I've spent many a summer growing up in my grandparents' house. So when I got the opportunity to speak to you today, it was with great pleasure that I accepted it, and I was very intrigued to see the work that you're doing, particularly at the Ramco Institute of Technology. So in the next few minutes, I want to share some thoughts with you on what I consider to be the role of professional societies when it comes to engineering education. You've already heard about my background, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this slide. I just want to show you the students who are there on the bottom of the slide. So these are all students from the program that I run. It's called the AIM Squared program. It stands for Attract, Inspire, Mentor, and Support Students. And if you talk to these students, most of them are the first in their families to go to college. Many of them are what we call first generation students. So to them, studying engineering or studying computer science is a way by which they're able to advance in their lives. It's a way by which they're able to advance their communities. It's a way by which they're able to advance society. So this has been my mission in life when it comes to engineering education, to educate not just students, but all students, and particularly students who are first in their families to go to college. Obviously, you heard a lot about my IEEE experience and so forth. I currently actually serve on the ABET Board of Directors. More on that a little bit later. I represent the engineering area delegation on the ABET Board of Directors. So without much ado, since many of you may not be familiar with the system, in the United States, we have a number of public university systems. In California, there are 23 campuses that are part of what is known as the California State University. So as you can see from the map in front of you, these campuses are spread on the length and breadth of California. My campus is Northridge, which is down in Southern California, some about 20 miles north of Los Angeles. Can you hear me? So we have approximately 500,000 students, about 500,000 students spread across these 23 campuses. And not all these students are in engineering, right? We offer a number of degrees, everything from business to humanities, to arts, to education, to health and human development, liberal studies and so forth, and engineering and computer science. So approximately 10%, about 50,000 students out of this 500,000 are studying engineering and computer science. The campus that I work is the largest of these 23 campuses. So we have about 40,000 students. We offer bachelor's and master's degrees in a variety of fields. One of the reasons I put up this slide, because the topic today is about sustainable engineering development for a better world. And there is a saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I figured that if I put a lot of pictures there, I can multiply the effect and convey the information. But more than that, the images in front of you demonstrate the various projects that students in our College of Engineering and Computer Science work on. So they might be working on unmanned aerial vehicles. They might be working on a concrete canoe. They might be working on a steel bridge. They might be working on a Formula car, a CubeSat project. They might be working on an aquaponics project, which takes the waste from fish and converts that into fertilizer so that you can sustain agriculture. So our students work on a number of different projects, and all of these programs are accredited by ABET. We have about 8 programs that are accredited by ABET. So when I was dean, one of the things that I did, as I said, it's not enough for you just to work on the projects. You really need to demonstrate the significance of what you do to the community. So every year, we used to have this event called a Senior Design Project Showcase. So all the students, no matter what program they're in or what discipline they're in, they are supposed to come and demonstrate their projects. They're also supposed to make oral presentations. Now, these are very tightly choreographed. So if you can imagine going to a conference, just like you're attending right now, except this is a virtual conference, you would have everybody. It's open to the public who comes and who listens to the presentations. And then we have judges actually going through the presentations, looking at what the students did, the significance of what the students did, and how it impacts society. So that is sort of the underlying foundation of the programs that I've been running for the last 30 plus years in the California State University system. So having said that, by way of background, let's look at some global challenges that are confronting us. So as you see on this slide in front of you, there's a number of global challenges: energy, environment, climate change, sustainability. If you look at India, providing nutritious food, providing clean water, these are huge issues. And during the last 6 months, the entire world has been focused on healthcare with COVID-19, because we are nowhere close to solving the problem yet. We're still trying to find a cure. We're still working on a vaccine. But in the meantime, we're taking a lot of efforts to ensure the safety of people all around the world by ensuring social distancing. We're running conferences. So technologies that we use are bringing people together. The smart technologies, which is a basis for this conference, IWCSET, smart technologies for sustainable engineering, technology and development in order to address societal grand challenges. But the main thing I want to point out to you here is that no matter what happens today or what is going to happen in the future, education is very important. It is not only important for us to educate ourselves individually, it's also important for us to educate the future generation of engineers and computer scientists. So many of you are probably familiar with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So they're there on the slide in front of you. And as you can see, some of them are very basic. Eliminate poverty, eliminate hunger, provide good health, provide quality education, whether it's kindergarten, whether it's university education, high school education, provide equality. Here in the United States, we have seen a lot of turmoil in recent months when it comes to social justice. How do we treat people equally? How do we treat people equitably so that everybody has the same opportunity, no matter what color, no matter what creed, no matter what caste, no matter what language, no matter what division they come from? Providing clean water, sanitation, clean energy, making good jobs, innovation, right? The true key to our future is innovation. And that's something that I'm going to be talking about quite a bit in the talk today, because the work that you're doing as faculty, as undergraduate students, as graduate students, you are the future innovators. You need to be thinking about not just the problems of today, but the problems of tomorrow. Machine learning, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, smart grid. There are so many technologies that are coming our way. And I guarantee you, if you had the same conversation 10 years from now, in 2030, those technologies would have advanced way beyond any of our imaginations. So how do we do that? So these are some of the fundamental reasons why, as a planet, we're very interested in sustainability. When you think about the word sustainability, the first thing that comes to mind is that you want to protect and preserve what you have, right? For example, our natural resources are being depleted very rapidly. So fossil fuels are disappearing. There's a big push towards renewable energy. Why? Because we want to make sure that future generations, our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, can actually enjoy the benefits of a clean planet, have clean air, clean water, and be able to enjoy good health, right? So these are some of the reasons why sustainable development is so important to our prosperity. Now, in the slide in front of you, I have the term globalization. In some ways, when you think about COVID-19 and Corona, the reason why it spread so rapidly is because of globalization. If you think back to 400 years ago or 500 years ago, when people were not able to travel so much, if you needed to travel to Europe or if you needed to travel to America, you probably needed to get on a ship and you had to go on a voyage. It would take you months to get there, which also meant that if you had a disease, the disease was largely localized to a population. So you could isolate it, you could treat it. With the technologies available in that day, of course, there was a lot of fatalities, and medicine has advanced by leaps and bounds thanks to the advances in healthcare. But nevertheless, globalization has also been a primary reason why diseases have spread. At the same time, globalization holds the key to solving the problems that we have. When you think about the virus right now, people are racing around the world to develop a vaccine, right? So what is the cure? Now, if you look at the combinations and the various therapies that are being developed, there is an unimaginable number of combinations, something like 10 raised to 40 combinations of antiviral drugs. So it is humanly impossible for us to sort through all of these and find that one particular vaccine that is going to provide the cure. However, we have scientists, we have doctors, we have public health experts around the world who are collaborating with high-performance computing, putting the best minds, putting artificial intelligence, putting machine learning to the fore. So they've taken these 10 raised to 40 combinations and reduced it to something like 20 combinations. Now, you say 20 is great. However, these 20 need to be lab tested, they need to be clinically tested before we can develop a drug, before we can deploy it. But this is, again, the consequences of globalization. So I'm trying to provide to you the perspective. So globalization is both responsible for some of the challenges we face, but ultimately globalization is going to be the solution to some of the challenges we face due to innovation. Now, in front of you, there's a number of publications. All of these are downloadable from the web. In particular, The Engineer of 2020 and Educating the Engineer of 2020. These are publications from the National Academy of Engineering, and you can go to nae.org and download these publications. So if you do that, you'll find that it talks about what are some of the skills, the knowledge, the abilities that students need to have in order to be successful. So if you're educating an engineer, a civil engineer, a mechanical engineer, computer engineer, construction management engineer, electrical engineer, whatever engineer you are, or computer scientist, you need to be analytical. You need to be a problem solver. You need to be able to think critically. You really need to be able to put things together in such a way that the tools in your tool chest, whether it's mathematics, physics, chemistry, the fundamentals that you've learned, engineering sciences, thermodynamics, heat transfer, circuits, VLSI, put that all together so that you're able to solve problems and solve problems for the benefit of humanity. The other two books on the slide right here are by Tom Friedman. The first one is The World is Flat. That is a few years old. And it talks about the fact that you could be in Beijing, you could be in Bethesda, Maryland, or you could be in Bangalore, India, or Rajapalayam in India, and still you're all connected, right? We're all connected. We're having this conversation around the web. And this book right here talks very, very poignantly to the topic of your seminar, which is sustainable development, hot, flat, and crowded. In other words, we are stewards of time and place, and it's incumbent upon us to ensure that the legacy that we leave behind for future generations is something that we're proud of. So we cannot just continue to use fossil fuels without regard to the environment. We already know about global warming. We already know about the consequences of global warming on our climate. So what can we do as educators? What can we do as students? First and foremost, I think we need programs that are outward focused, that are entrepreneurial engines of innovation. So I want to give a big round of applause to the Ramco Institute of Technology, because exactly the kind of things that you're doing as an ISO 9001:2015 certified institution are the things that we need to do. And the professional societies have a huge role to play in promoting innovation going forward. Okay, so now let's talk about professional societies. And I mentioned to you earlier on that I sit on the ABET board of directors, right? So currently, I represent 32 member societies, including the IEEE on ABET. ABET, as many of you are probably familiar, is a global accrediting body which accredits programs in 4 broad areas. applied and natural science, computing, engineering, and engineering and technology. And why is ABET accreditation important? Because ABET accreditation assures your constituents, whether they're your students, your future employers, or society, that they can be confident that the graduates who are emanating from your program are actually prepared to enter a global workforce. Now in India, we have the National Board of Accreditation, or NBA. And NBA has several tiers, tier 1 and tier 2. And so depending upon the status of the institution, if you have complete autonomy over your curriculum as a tier 1 institution, you have the ability to ensure that your graduates can actually prepare to enter a global workforce. Now, if you're interested, about a week from now on July 8th, the IEEE is hosting a seminar, a workshop on ABET accreditation. So I'm going to be speaking about ABET accreditation criteria, along with Michael Milligan, who's the CEO of ABET, but I'll be speaking in my capacity as the director of the engineering area delegation. So you're welcome to attend that. Please look at the social media for registration information for the webinar. The reason I brought up ABET accreditation is because accreditation is one way by which professional societies ensure that graduates are prepared to enter a global workforce. So if you look at the member societies, ABET consists of over 36 member societies, right? All the societies that you see on the screen are member societies of ABET. Collectively, they represent over 1.5 million practicing professionals around the world. If you ask me about ABET's global reach, ABET accredits approximately 4,000 programs around the world, including about 1,000 programs outside the United States. So it is not just a US-based organization, it is a global organization that is responsible for the 4 fields that we talked about. We also take into account industry. So if you look at the industry partners of ABET, you see some of the top names in industry: General Motors, Hewlett-Packard, Siemens, Boeing, Sandia National Labs, Parkins, Bechtel, Amazon, IBM, and so forth. The reason why this is important is because when you talk about sustainable development, when you talk about smart engineering, you really need to get a 360-degree view of how all of this comes about, okay? So accreditation is another important leg of sustainable engineering development and quality. Again, we've covered these numbers. So every year we graduate about 100,000 students from ABET accredited programs. Why is it so important? Because the societies are the ones that are responsible for ensuring quality. They come from academia, they come from industry, and this is very important. They're not financially compensated. I'm a volunteer, right? The time that I'm spending on ABET and IEEE is completely uncompensated. I don't get paid for that. Accreditation leads to continuous improvement. It is self-assessment and the process of outcomes. In other words, it doesn't matter what your curriculum says. You can have the most wonderful curriculum, the best library, the best textbooks, but what are your graduates able to do at the time of graduation? In other words, what are the outcomes that they're able to demonstrate? And the accreditation process, as you're probably familiar, is an ISO 9001:2015 certified process. In case you are not remembering what it is, it's about quality management. So there are 7 principles. It looks at leadership, looks at engagement, looks at process, looks at evidence-based decision-making, relationship management, and a customer focus. So every organization that seeks to be ISO 9001:2015 accredited, or certified, has to fulfill these conditions. And ABET has a number of internal processes in place to ensure that this happens. Okay, now let's switch gears and talk about interdisciplinary projects. So we've talked about global challenges, we've talked about professional societies, we've talked about accreditation. But at the end of the day, no matter what degree you get, you can graduate in computer science, you can graduate in engineering, mechanical, civil, electrical, and whatnot. How are you going to apply it, right? The world is not divided into these disciplines. The world is actually a very complex place where people get to build, test, model, do a variety of things, but they're solving practical problems. So I want to share a couple of interdisciplinary projects with you from my experience at my university. So before I do that, this is again from the National Academy of Engineering. It's called Changing the Conversation, right? And again, you can download this book directly from the NAE website. Now, the reason why I put up this site here is so that you understand why this is so critical. Innovation, engineering, research to real-world applications, improving your lives having a direct and positive impact on people's everyday lives. So if you have a mission in the Ramco Institute of Technology or any institution for that matter, I want the students, I want the faculty, I want the individuals associated with your institution to be thinking about these values, innovation, engineering, direct and positive impact on people's everyday lives. Because this is the reason why you do what you do, right? So when you have this in your mind, then it puts a whole different perspective on the degree of the program and the education that you're receiving. So I'm going to give you two examples. This particular example, the first one, is called Learning to Code by Making Music. So if you're a computer science faculty member, and I know CSE is one of the programs that is represented at Ramco, so you're teaching them data structures, you're teaching them programming, you're teaching them all the aspects of software engineering, project development, and so forth. One of the fundamental courses we teach in computer engineering or software engineering is a course in structured programming, right? And we found in our university that our students were struggling in this fundamental course to learn the principles associated with programming. So what this group of faculty did, Professor Rani, Professor Gloria, and Professor Rick, whom you see, these two are computer science faculty. Rick is actually a music faculty. They came up with the idea that you can actually teach computer science by using music as a vehicle. Interesting, isn't it? There are so many parallels between music and computer science. So if you want to teach coding, structured programming, use music as a vehicle. So the website that you see there is something that you can go to, and I'm going to explain what that means. So when you go to that website, this is what you'll see. It's called TIDES, and TIDES stands for Teaching to Improve Diversity and Equity in STEM. Remember the students that I showed you at the beginning, the first generation students, the people who were first in their families to go to college? Many of them, when they enter college, do not even speak English. Let me repeat. Many of those students, when they enter college, do not even speak English. So they speak Spanish. So how do they go from not speaking English to becoming a computer scientist, to becoming an electrical engineer, to becoming a computer engineer, right? So that's diversity, that's equity. So we decided that we need to reach out to them by using examples that they're familiar with, in this case, using music as a vehicle. So it turns out that there's a lot of parallels between structured programming and music, okay? So when you click on modules, and I'm just going to show you this right here, you might be teaching them about loops. You might be teaching them about arrays, or you might be teaching them about how to write a program, typical if, then, else type of statements. In each of these examples, we're using music as the vehicle to convey the corresponding programming concept. So if you go to the modules, and these are all free for you to use, right? There's no pop-ups, there's absolutely nothing. You can use them. There'll be a demonstration, there'll be some skeleton code, and then it'll give you some information on the musical background. Now, I know you live in India, and so Carnatic music is very big. I already told you about my mother, who was a very, very distinguished singer in the mode of Thevaram and Tirumurai. So you can use any one of these local examples that you have to teach concepts in programming, right? It's because there's connections, there's relationships between mathematics, between structured program and music. Again, please feel free to use this. If you want to do string processing, the strings to beats, all of the lessons on these modules are free to use to anybody. And we'd love to hear from you on how you can develop this even more. But the idea here is that rather than saying, here's my textbook, this is the example I have to use to teach programming, now we're using a whole different mindset to bring programming to life. So if the student who's used to a type of music is now actually creating music, and in the process of learning programming, they've learned something that they've never learned before, right? So just one example. Let me give you another example. This is a particularly important example because it addresses the issue of healthcare. And this project is a project to make an intelligent wheelchair, right? So you say, what is an intelligent wheelchair? If I tell you in one sentence, this wheelchair is controlled by the person's thoughts. Let me repeat that because you probably missed it. You sit in the wheelchair and you think that you want to go forward. The wheelchair reads your thoughts and it moves forward. That sounds like science fiction. And you say, surely that has to be a movie. That cannot be true. Well, I have news for you, ladies and gentlemen. It is very true. It has been demonstrated. It's been deployed by our students. So what the students did, And these are some of the students that you see on this slide in front of you, and a professor who worked with them. And the students come from all the disciplines. We had computer science students, we had mechanical students, computer engineering students, electrical engineering students, manufacturing students. In India, you might call it production engineering, because we had to manufacture a lot of things. And these students came together. And interestingly, the motivation for this project started out with the fact that a lot of these students were playing video games. Many of these students were playing video games using joysticks. And at the same time, they were participating in robotics competitions where they had to design a vehicle to navigate a course autonomously or within a timed way. And they came together and they said, what if we can create this where a user is actually able to move the wheelchair by using his or her mind, right? The gentleman that you see in the photo right here, Lee, he's actually a student in computer science. He graduated with a master's in computer science and his undergraduate degrees in mechanical engineering. And he's actually a quadriplegic. And so he's paralyzed below his waist, and he has to use a wheelchair. So he was not only a patient, but he was also a researcher on the website. So let me explain to you how this works. So the goal of the project is to provide increased independence and flexibility for somebody in a wheelchair, and to be able to operate it autonomously using the person's thoughts. Now, when you think about this just for a moment, it not only has to navigate traffic, maybe in a crowded building in an indoor setting, but it also has to navigate traffic in an outdoor setting where you might have all kinds of obstacles, right? So we spent quite a bit of time doing this. Incidentally, the work that I've described to you was done over a period of several years, right? This is actually about 6 to 7 years ago that we did this, and they've advanced much beyond what I'm sharing with you today. So we've actually done both indoor mobility as well as outdoor mobility. So what does it consist of? First and foremost, it consists of a powered wheelchair. We equipped it with a camera. We equipped it with a GPS. You see this bottom right here, it's called a laser rangefinder. The laser rangefinder allows you to look at obstacles and find the most optimal path. And of course, there's the brains, which is the computer, which is controlling all these devices. Now, we use a piece of software called LabVIEW. LabVIEW is very familiar with most of you, perhaps, in the engineering computer science environment. And we also use modules from MATLAB and Simulink. LabVIEW allows us to do virtual instrumentation. Now, we use a number of inputs. I've already shown you the camera, high definition camera. We use GPS. We use a laser rangefinder. It's powered by a couple of 3 batteries, actually. It's a 24-volt system, which has been augmented with another battery. And there is servo motors and controllers in order for you to translate this thought. This piece of equipment that you see on the top left is very interesting. It is a headset, right? It's called emotive headset. And you can probably buy it on the market in US dollars. It's of the order of about $200. But what this does, if you're using this for video gaming, is you can actually move an object on the screen. So let's say you're playing a video game and you want to push the object forward, you want to pull the object towards you, you want to move the object to the right or the left. So basically, I give you 4 commands right there. Now, what the students did is that they said, let's take the commands from this headset, let's build an artificial neural network which is able to monitor the EEG waveforms from this headset, look at some pattern recognition, and then based on that, make an educated guess, right, as to what the user intended to do. In other words, you train with the system, and let's say you want to move forward, there's a certain thought pattern. We have a database of EEG waveforms. We work with the neuroscientists to monitor these, and they control the wheelchair using their thoughts. Now, what is interesting about this is that all of this happens in real time. It's not like you sit down there and you think about it and the wheelchair moves 2 minutes later. That's no good, right? You can't have any latency. This has to happen instantaneously. The moment somebody thinks that they want to move forward, the wheelchair detects the thought, compares it in the neural network, with very little latency, it's able to move forward. All of these technologies that you see here, the camera, the GPS, the laser rangefinder, all of that is to avoid obstacles going through. Now, I have a video that I'm going to play in a hybrid mode where this user is actually demonstrating how this moves forward. Now, I haven't tested this in Google Meet, so we'll see if it works. If it doesn't, I can share the video with you later so you'd be able to see it. It's on the internet as well, okay? So I'm going to play the video right now. Can somebody confirm if you can see it? So the user is basically moving the wheelchair with their thoughts. Now, we can have a whole seminar about this, talking about the algorithms that we developed, the image processing that we did, particularly to avoid obstacles and so forth. And I don't have time to do that, but I just wanted to show you this for motivation so that you understood how all of these disciplines are coming together. In this case, you have mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer engineering, computer science, and all of these things being put together. By the way, the students who worked on this are all undergraduate students, right? They're not graduate students, they're not PhD students. So hopefully you have an idea about how interdisciplinary projects can motivate us to help. Incidentally, the big red button that you see there, that's an emergency shut-off. In case you encounter an obstacle, in case you want to shut things off, you can turn things off right there, okay? Now, one of the motivations from running a program like this was you see how biology, you see how healthcare, you see how engineering, all of these disciplines are coming together. So we actually created a program called Assistive Technology Engineering. And I want to play another brief video to show you what we do in assistive technology engineering, again, with the perspective of sustainable engineering development. So please listen.
One thing that has really impressed me about this program is the synergy between electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, biomechanics, biology, anatomy, and computer science, because everyone comes from different backgrounds and you're taking classes in not only engineering, but you do some biomechanics and biology. Everyone got to help each other out, and you got to see different views of each class and how to work problems out.
We were learning from each other, and I quite appreciated that aspect of it.
And the great thing about the faculty here is they had a way of channeling that towards the class, whether it be robotics or electronics, or whether it be a biology class.
A lot of faculty even helped out with developing the program. So not only were they there to help out in their class, but they were always wanting to know how the program was going.
All different disciplines and all working together to try to bring their field to the fore.
I would recommend this program to others who are seeking an opportunity to learn mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, biomechanics, and really just see the background of what creates devices and how to bring them to market. It takes both the human factor side and the engineering side into play.
It was an absolutely positive experience. I do not say that enough.
So if you're interested in programs like this, incidentally, this program that I just described to you is completely available online. So you could be sitting in Rajapaliyam and take this program, right? As a matter of fact, we're just recruiting for our next cohort. So if you're interested, again, that's our website. You can go there and look at what it involves. But as you look at the courses, you see that the courses span a variety of disciplines. You study biology, you're studying human characteristics, biomechanics. Obviously, you need to know about instrumentation, you need to know about robotics. There's product design, development for assistive technology. Many of our students are also entrepreneurs. They go out and start companies. They need to know about FDA regulations. So we have a project management course, and we have current and emerging topics in assistive technology, augmentative and alternative communications. It's a cohort-based model. Again, in this day and age, you may think that because of COVID-19, we're doing a lot of things virtually. We've been doing this for the last 6 years, right? So we started doing this a long time ago, except COVID-19 now has accelerated the move to virtual modalities. So I would say take advantage of any of these opportunities that you have as you think about sustainable engineering development. Now, I'm going to switch gears and spend the last part of my talk talking about IEEE's role and the programs and services that IEEE offers that allows you, again, from the perspective of a professional association, to engage in sustainable engineering development. As many of you know, IEEE is the largest professional technical society in the world. We have over 400,000 members spanning the entire continent. And innovation And if you look at our mission, advancing technology for humanity goes to the core of who we are in IEEE. But IEEE is really more than just advancing technology for humanity. We also advance technology for our members. Because earlier today, I was sitting in the IEEE board meeting, which is ongoing right now, and we were talking about the conferences that we've been running for the last month and a half, 2 months. All of these conferences have gone virtual. And the number of people attending these conferences, in some cases, has increased exponentially. In other words, there is an audience out there, when you think about our disciplines, and you might say, well, artificial intelligence, machine learning, you need to have these prerequisites, you need to have this language, and so forth. But there are a lot of people out there who probably care about it, particularly now, and want to learn more about it. So I'd say that IEEE provides a global technical community, and it's universally recognized for contributions to technology and to technical professionals who are increasingly involved in improving global conditions. Now, the reason I put up this slide is that you understand what a strategic plan is. So we have 5 strategic goals. Clearly, innovation is important. Collaboration is important. Public understanding of engineering and technology. Standards. If you look at the technologies we're using today, Wi-Fi, power, right? 802.1, all of these come back to IEEE. Be a trusted source of educational services and resources. In other words, we are not beholden to one company or one technology. We want humanity to benefit from IEEE. Provide opportunities for career and professional development. This is really important if you're a student or faculty member, because IEEE has those opportunities for you. And then more importantly, we want to build communities around the world to advance technical interests, inform public policy, and ultimately expand knowledge for the benefit of humanity. Now, when we do this, as you understand again at Ramco, values are important. Trust is important. Service to humanity is important. Integrity is important. Partnership is important. Growth and nurturing, global community building. Without these values, none of these strategic missions make a difference, right? So please keep that in mind about how IEEE is a professional society. And again, if you're a mechanical, you can look at your Mechanical Engineering Society. If you're looking at India, you can look at CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, but be engaged in your professional society. So IEEE, again, is a very complex organization. There are a number of different boards, but at the top of IEEE are the members. Our members are the heart and soul of IEEE, and they create the innovations, they create the technologies that fuel IEEE. Now, in particular, I'm going to talk about the Educational Activities Board. We have standards, we have membership and geographic activities, we have technical activities. There are 46 technical societies and councils, everything from robotics to sensors to renewable energy to communications, computer society, signal processing, etc. But I'm going to focus on educational activities, right? So you understand how that can help you as an educator. So what are the programs and services? So when you think about educational activities covers programs, not just for university students, but students in pre-university classes, service learning, continuing education. So you could be a PhD, you could be a senior professional, you could be a beginning student, you could be a 5-year-old. IEEE has something for you. The site that I'd ask you to go to is our Try Engineering portal. I'll explain that in a minute. But the basic site is this one right here, ea.ieee.org. So how do you get there? Go to the main IEEE page, www.ieee.org, and you see this right here, click on education, and that'll take you to this URL, okay? Go to the main IEEE page, click on education. When you do that, it'll take you to IEEE educational activities. If you're an IEEE member, you can sign in with your IEEE account and access all of these resources. So for example, let's say you want to develop lesson plans, and the lesson plans are oriented towards somebody in high school, or the lesson plans might be oriented towards a second-year student in computer science, or a final-year student in computer engineering, or electrical engineering, or systems engineering. You can find information no matter what level of student, what level of faculty you are, right? So there's a lot of resources available on this page. In particular, I want you to go to the Try Engineering page. So one of the resources, and again, you'll find me there as one of the resource persons. You can find students, you can find teachers, you can find professionals. You can find a lot of people who are all networked, connected through the power of IEEE. There is another platform that IEEE has, and it's called Collaboratech, right? Collaboratech. And you can actually join Collaboratech. There's a lot of communities in Collaboratech where you can go in and say, I'm interested in learning about what people are doing to use artificial intelligence to come up with a cure for COVID-19. So there's a community of people there that are actually working on that. And you can join the conversation. You can either contribute to the conversation or learn from it. You can be a beginner, you can be an advanced user, you can be an intermediate user. Whoever you are, you have opportunities to connect through IEEE. Okay. I want to talk about two other programs before we close up today. One of them is EPICS in IEEE, right? EPICS in IEEE stands for Engineering Projects in Community Service. And what it does is it engages students, it engages NGOs, a non-government organization, or in India you might call it a non-profit organization, and the local community to solve problems in the community. So there are four basic areas. One of them is access and abilities. So helping people who are differently able, physically challenged, mentally challenged, helping them. Education and outreach. So this could be young learners who are trying to understand STEM. Environment and energy. This again goes back to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal. Or human services, understanding that in a particular community, maybe it's a road, maybe it's an innovation infrastructure, right? Given that we're all under lockdown and we cannot be meeting face to face, how do we develop the infrastructure, the innovation highway, so that no matter where you are, you can collaborate, you can actually build things. If you look at my university, the 40,000 students that I told you, we're completely virtual. All the classes went virtual in March. All of our labs are virtual. And you say, how is that done? Well, in engineering, we use remote labs, we use virtual labs. We're trying to carry on our educational system, even though we're not physically in that same place. So human services. So EPICS and IEEE has these pillars. Now, at the bottom, you have pre-university students and college students. The benefits go to the NPO. And what IEEE does is it provides some seed funding, and it provides a sustainable platform so that these projects can be sustained over a period of time after the initial work, the prototype is done. So how do you do it? Today, if you want to go submit a proposal, you can go to epics.ieee.org. By the way, there's no deadline, right? We're in the middle of the year. It has a budget. You can submit a proposal at any time. Literally, it's about 9:45 in the morning, your time. You can go at 11 o'clock and submit a proposal to epics.ieee.org. 1 month from now, you'll have an answer from the committee. So the committee will look at it and say, how does it exemplify service learning? How does it impact the participants? How does it match the proposed efforts? And more importantly, how do you assess that your project is doing what it's going to be doing? But keep in mind, again, it's all about sustainable development. It's about making a difference in your community. Now, we've done a lot of these projects. Again, as you can see from this map, about 1/3 of these projects are in India, 34% of these projects. And more importantly, about 15% are in human services, about 22% in environment, and 28% in education, about 34% in access and abilities. Again, all of this goes towards sustainable engineering development to improve quality of life for people around you. Specifically in India, when I was Vice President of Educational Activities, I started an initiative called EPICS and IEEE India version 2.0. So what we did is we established a partnership with 13 universities in India, because these are all projects that I described to you, right? So you can go to epics.ieee.org, submit a project, and be funded for the project. But in India, we wanted to build an ecosystem. We wanted to build an infrastructure so that universities could actually do curriculum so that generations of students could actually benefit from that. So what did we do? So we had the EPICS and IEEE program. We're a partner with Purdue University. Purdue University is the one that started this program many years ago. And we partnered with universities in India. So these universities in India, this is the MOU signing that we did. Some of you, depending on the workshops you've attended, might know Professor Bill Oakes, who's at Purdue University, and then Professor Krishna Vedula here, who is the founder of IUCEE, the Indo-Universal Collaboration for Engineering Education. And these are a number of the principals and correspondents from the universities in India who attended that MOU signing ceremony back in 2018 in New Jersey. What do we do? So these are the institutions. My alma mater, as you heard, is REC Trichy. Now it's called NIT, National Institute of Krishnapalli. And we have 5 colleges, I think, from Tamil Nadu. Kumaraguru College of Technology in Coimbatore, Vellore Institute of Technology, PSG Tech, Tyagaraja College of Engineering, and Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering. And the rest of them are all from AP. Right, so we signed the MOU. And as part of the MOU, we provide resources to develop projects. But more importantly, every one of these colleges that you saw on that slide has committed, to developing curriculum. So the curriculum goes all the way from freshman year to the senior year, year 1 through year 4, where the students engage in projects. In addition, each of these colleges has to set up a lab so that these students can practice service learning projects to engage in sustainable engineering development. So at my alma mater, at NIT Trichy, we actually created an IoT lab, Internet of Things lab. So I'm from the 1981 batch, as you heard, and the alumni from my batch got together. We donated money and we set up an IoT lab, which can be used by all the students in the institution. So that's just for NIT, by way of example. But what we've done now is that we've made this a part of their curriculum. So it's not just one project and it's done, but every student who goes through that institution now has an opportunity to participate in sustainable engineering development, to do a project that makes a difference in the community, whether it's access and abilities, health and human services, education, or outreach. Okay. The last example I'll give to you as we get to the end is IEEE Smart Village, right? IEEE Smart Village is another interesting program, and this is based on 3 principles: providing electricity, and through electricity, providing education, and involving entrepreneurs to remote villages around the world, right? So if you can provide smart renewable energy, then you have light. If you have light, then you can provide opportunities for healthcare, you can provide opportunities for education, you can provide so many opportunities for clean, high-quality lives in these places. So we've done this around the world. A lot of projects in Africa. There's a couple of projects in India. And what I really like about this project is that it brings entrepreneurs into the ecosystem. So these are entrepreneurs who have ideas. They want to use solar, they want to use wind, they want to use photovoltaics. I mentioned at the beginning, my father was an IAS officer. One of the last assignments he headed the Energy Development Agency, TEDA, Tamil Nadu Energy Development Agency. A number of the projects that you see in Tamil Nadu today in wind and solar were projects that he initiated when he was chairman of TEDA, right? As a matter of fact, there's a project in a village near the district of Tuticorin called Kulasegirapatnam, right? And it's a sea solar project. So it utilizes the temperature gradient in the ocean to drive a turbine and provide power. So I checked on it a few days ago. It was done as a pilot project by the Tamil Nadu Electricity Board, and it was a 1 megawatt pilot plant, but it really provides opportunities. So these people do not have to depend on the grid. You don't need to have transmission lines. You don't need to think about losses. They can have locally generated high quality power to connect to the internet, to have access to healthcare, to have access to education, and to have access to clean, high quality life. So again, IEEE Smart Village provides these kinds of opportunities, right? So hopefully I have shown you why professional associations like IEEE are critical to success, are critical to global human engineering and to sustainable development. Now, finally, I want to close my thoughts by talking about lifelong learning, right? As you listen to all of these examples about societies, about ABET, about the projects, various things, perhaps you noticed that all of these projects involved people, right? Basically, you have people, different people, and they come from all different walks of life. They come with all different backgrounds, but without collaboration, nothing is going to be possible. In the IEEE, we've created internally collaboration through what is known as the IEEE Learning Network, or ILN, right? So if you go to ILN under IEEE.org, you can find almost anything under the sun that you want to learn about, where different societies are contributing content. And I like this hub and spoke model because IEEE has so many branches and so many divisions. You know, you could spend a whole month talking about IEEE, but we're all in this together, with education being the primer driving it, whether it's Try Engineering Together, which is for elementary school kids, or Try Engineering Summer Institute that we use in order to bring people together. We are truly, truly collaborative. We bring people together, we work together. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the foundation of sustainable engineering development for high quality human life. So engineering is very exciting. Engineers achieve great things. You can have a great work-life balance. I said you can get to work everywhere and travel. Obviously, you're not traveling anywhere now. You're traveling virtually on your platforms from Google Meet to Zoom to Microsoft Teams. you can make a difference in the world. I think that's really the most important reason why we care about sustainable engineering development. So as I come to the end of my talk, some tips for success. I would suggest that you establish student branches of chapters, whether it's IEEE, ACM, mechanical engineering, civil engineering. Check out the resources that are available. Volunteer, give your time, because the more you give, the more you get. And consider involving yourself in programs such as EPICS. IEEE has humanitarian activities, Smart Village Site, right, and so forth. And if you're a student, consider doing an internship, because here you get to learn practically how things are applied in the field. So I will close with one thought right here. And I know what the answer is to this question, but I'm going to ask the question anyway. Do you want to make a difference in the world? And I'm showing you here IEEE Region 10, which is our Asia Pacific region, and obviously India is a big part of that. And I believe the answer to this is absolutely yes. You want to make a difference in the world. And you need to do that with values. And the values, I summarize that as you want to be inclusive, you want to bring different points of view, you want to be collaborative, you want to be accountable, because somebody somewhere, an entrepreneur, is funding these. At the end of the day, they need to be able to show what you've done in order for the funding that you receive. You need to be resilient. The whole world is worried about what's going to happen with COVID-19. But COVID-19, if you look at the historical timeline, is going to become a blip on the radar screen, right? COVID-19 is just one minor thing in a lifetime that we're seeing. We will overcome that. We will overcome that by putting our minds together. But above all, we need to be ethical. We need to be thinking about human quality. We need to be thinking about human life. And if we put it all together, and if I ask you, do you want to make a difference in the world? This is what I would say. I care, and I hope you do. Okay. So with that said, this is my email address, s.ramesh@ieee.org. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. And as we do in India again, we say vanakkam and namaskaram. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up for questions or any comments from the audience. So thank you very much for the opportunity. It's been a great pleasure sharing my thoughts with you, and I hope you found this useful. Thank you again. Over to you.
Dr. Ramesh sir, it's a very informative session we had, and as a part of IEEE, I'm also a senior member. So I have come across a lot of professional societies offering, but really IEEE is working well, and they are providing a lot of opportunities for young budding engineers in terms of volunteership, and as you mentioned, so everything, it is a good thing. And I have a small query regarding that. We come across nowadays a new normal initiative for the institutions, for the engineering institutions. So how far IEEE is contributing in the part of new normal initiative?
So thank you, Dr. Vimal, for the question.
Yeah.
IEEE, when I think about IEEE as an organization,
Yeah.
We have evolved over 100 years, right? If you go back and look at Tesla, Nikola Tesla, right? In 1926, Nikola Tesla described the cell phone that you have in your hand today, right? He said, one day we will have a technology that allows people to communicate wherever they are, use video. He didn't use the word video. He said share pictures and be able to communicate wherever they are. Remember, in 1926, we did not have the integrated circuit, but Tesla was able to look forward. To your question about the new normal, IEEE is at the forefront of technological innovation, right? So when we look at our conferences, when we look at our publications, our open access publications, what I really like about IEEE is the breadth of the society. 46 different societies, everything from engineering, medicine, biology, all the way to vehicular technology, transportation, societal implications, computer society, signal processing power, you name it, IEEE covers almost every single facet. And by the way, you can be a mechanical engineer and still be a member of IEEE. So when you say the new normal, I'd say go back to fundamentals, right? The problems around you require us to think analytically, think critically, and be able to apply those fundamental principles and using the values that I just described. Because no problem gets solved by its own. All problems require collaboration. It requires multidisciplinary teams, speaking different languages, different perspectives. It requires teams that are ethical. It requires teams that are resilient. It requires teams that are accountable, because resources are not infinite. Nobody has $1 million to give you to go out and try something and fail, but you still have to try, right? You have to come up with these ideas. So IEEE to me is one of the most forward-looking societies that I can think of. And if you're a volunteer, you have something to do in IEEE. All you have to do is to put up your hand and say, I want to do it, right? You'll find something either at the section level, at the regional level, at the technical chapter level, student chapter level, honor society. There are so many areas that you can contribute to IEEE.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Kalipan, sir.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
Yes.
Sir,
Good morning.
we have a question posted in chat box. It states how the professional societies are going to help the society towards ethical, sustainable, and inclusive growth.
Thank you. And obviously, I'm not able to monitor the chat window at the same time because it's hard to multitask, right? So I appreciate you reading that out to me. All of the professional societies right now, whether it's IEEE, and I probably should start with ABET, because ABET is an umbrella organization that brings societies together, 36 societies, right? And if you look at the ABET core, whether you're a student, whether you're an employer, whether you're a society, you pretty much covered everybody, right? So every single person is thinking about sustainability, and sustainability has different facets to it. It has a resource constraint, it has an educational constraint, it has a forward-looking constraint in terms of how future engineers, future scientists, and these are not the only people in the world, right? You have humanitarian people. So all of these aspects need to come into play, and professional societies actually give you an umbrella, a platform for you to develop those skills, to practice those skills, as well as engage you in solving problems locally. Then no one's going to come to you with a ready-made formula that says, here's the answer to your problems, this is how you're going to do it. What the professional societies do is to create an environment where you can then collaborate with similar like-minded people, either through a technical society or through a regional society or through a student chapter, whatever that umbrella might be, right? And if you want to elevate that conversation a little bit further and say, how can it lead to sustainable development? Just look at all of the projects out there that people are working on. Where do these students graduate from? If they're from India, they graduated from an NBA accredited program. That says something, right? That they're prepared for practice. So sustainable engineering development and improving quality of life is a fundamental practical principle of accreditation. So as long as you have that in front of you and you're treating constituents, your students, your faculty, the employers, the alumni, the parents, involving them in the conversation, taking their voices into account, you cannot go wrong.
Participants, if you have any queries, you can ask right now or you can post it in the chat box.
You're also welcome to email me, as I said, s.ramesh@ieee.org. I'm happy to connect with you. You can find me on LinkedIn as well to speak with you.
Sir, I have one question.
Please.
Yes, sir. Actually, this interdisciplinary approach that gives more output of the result. But we have very difficult to do that in interdisciplinary approach, because the people here they not much interested to mingle with the other branches of disciplines. So how to improve that interdisciplinary approach, sir? Any kind of tricks to have it, sir?
Well, there's no simple answer, sir. I think what you need to keep in mind is use programs like EPICS, right? Because I said EPICS, engineering projects and community service, the EPICS pilot that we're doing in India with the 13 colleges in India. And you can certainly contact me. I can connect you with the faculty there. at either KCT or VIT or even REC Trichy or NIT. I still call it REC Trichy, but NIT, my alma mater. So you have to make it part of the curriculum, right? So, so the first question that comes up is people say, well, I'm in my discipline and I'm going for placement and, where are the highest jobs and so forth. You really have to change the mindset. So this takes a cultural shift, right, in society. So if you're graduating in civil engineering, I want you to be practicing civil engineering. I do not want you to go into the IT industry. I'm sorry, okay? There are enough people who are trained in IT who can go into the IT industry. If you're graduating in civil engineering, I want you to go into civil engineering to build infrastructure. If you're a mechanical engineer, I want you to be thinking about transportation. Electrical engineer, I want you to be thinking about, but thinking about it in a very holistic way, using examples like the ones, I just used 2 examples there, but there are so many more examples. You can just look at your own environment in Rajparli. When I was growing up, I used to go to the library there, which my grandfather established. I don't know if it's still there, but I think it is, the Pennington Library in Srivilliputtur, right? If it's still there. I used to go to the Pennington Library and spend a lot of time there reading books. Nobody told me to do that, right? I studied in India. No one said go to the library, but I really enjoyed going there to the library and checking out books and reading. So I'd say develop a mindset that you need to be thinking beyond your own discipline, beyond your own college, and students need to be really thinking about their life, not just the degree or the first paycheck, the salary that they're going to get, because they have a whole life ahead of them, right? And so this mindset has to change. And accreditation is one way by which you can do it, because if you are looking at NBA accreditation, all of the principles that I talked about are part of NBA accreditation, right? They're also part of ABET accreditation. If you're doing a project like EPICS, you can also integrate that into the curriculum. So you have to start small. You have to get faculty engaged. Start with a champion, get more students engaged, get resources. I guarantee you industry will be willing to support you, because industry, when I talk to CEOs of companies, the first thing they say is, we want graduates who are able to practice. It doesn't matter what the paper says. It doesn't matter what grades they got in school. I want them to be able to come off from school and be able to practice what they've learned. So practice is important.
Hello. Can you hear me, sir? Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
On behalf of Ramco Institute of... Thank you so much, sir. On behalf of Ramco Institute of Technology, I take this opportunity to propose word of thanks to those who have contributed to this keynote address on role of professional societies in engineering education. I thank our chief guest and resource person, Dr. S.K. Ramesh. We are really enlightened with your knowledge, sir. You have made a significant contribution and put forth great efforts in addressing global challenges with innovation in engineering. We have gained an understanding on ABET accreditations for sustainable development and quality, and also we have understood the importance in demonstrating the significance to the communities and produce positive impact on people's everyday lives. We thank you for sharing educational activities in IEEE via Collaborate, IEEE Smart Village, IEEE EPIC projects, and volunteer leadership.
Thank you so much.
I would also like to thank Dr. S. Vimal.
Go ahead, ma'am.
I would also like to thank our chairman, principal, management, organizing committee, teaching and non-teaching staff for their unflinching support and coordination. I thank our participants, and I hope you would have all enjoyed the session. Thank you one and all once again. The feedback link is posted in the chat box. We'll meet you in the next session. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in Rajparli in person one of these days. Vanakkam.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
My pleasure, sir.
We are very proud of you, sir.
Thank you,
Romma
sir.
nandri, ma.
Thank you,
Romma
sir.
nandri. Thank you.
ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம் சார்
Sir, எங்களுக்கு
Romma nandri, ma. Thank you.
Okay, bye, sir.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Take care.
Need a professional logo for your brand? I've used the new Wix logo maker